We've all heard of parquetry flooring before, but did you know that you get end-grain parquetry flooring? I'm gonna take that idea and instead of gluing the timber down to the floor, I'm gonna use this piece of plywood instead. I'm going to be using this pile of silky oak offcuts. First, I need to get them all milled up so they're square on all four sides, and then I'm going to essentially make the entire desk into an end-grain board. One of the concerns I have with this, and parquetry flooring in general, is as soon as you glue a piece of timber which expands and contracts with moisture to a fixed static piece of material or surface, you are limiting that movement of that timber, and at some point something's going to fail. Depending on where you go in the internet, there will be people in the comments who fiercely defend the idea that wood will always move under moisture, regardless of how you try and fix it in place. And while I'm not experienced enough to say whether this is or isn't true, from what I can tell with parquetry flooring, those strips are so thin that their movement is negligible, so it doesn't result in any damage to the floor. But time will tell, so stay tuned to this channel, and if it does fall apart, I will be 100% honest about it. And after all of that gluing and cutting, I'm left with this pile of timber. I have enough timber here to easily do a 900 by 1400 wide desk. So now it's just about cutting lots and lots and lots and lots of 15mm strips out of this pile. So in the beautifully cliche words of almost every single woodworker on YouTube, let's get into it. Next up, I'm going to do a dry assembly of all of the pieces, and that way I can define the pattern before I get to gluing. What I'm trying to do here is to make sure I get a nice balance between the detailed pieces and the more simple ones. All right, first one done, just a few more to go. I've had the tabletop clamped down to my flat bench now for 5 days, and so far everything is intact and where it should be. It's not light. And keep in mind that this top surface is just blasting out moisture. Think of the straws analogy with this all being end grain. The underside, where it's glued, is completely sealed off. So this piece is doing everything it can to try and curl up on the sides and turn into a potato chip. But because of the clamps and the glue, I'm not letting it do that. And that's generally where the issues with cracking and splitting happen. But next up, I'm going to add an inlay to give this table some character. At the moment, it's just a sea of geometric lines, which is fine, but I reckon I can do better. So the inlay will start in this area where my mouse is and expand and extend out in different directions, kind of like the creative journey that I go on when I make these videos. one of the things I'm very conscious of here is going too far with it. I mean, I can just keep adding more and more of these strips, but at some point, it's going to be too much. I am all the way down to a number of passes at 120 grit, and this is where I'm going to stop. And fortunately, my decision to go the epoxy route has actually really helped. In some areas, the timber has shifted and it's not as flat as it was after that initial flattening. And the way I can tell that is in some of the corners, there's a very slight pooling of epoxy, which indicates that those corners have recessed. Now, I think what's happened is, while all of these pieces are strictly end grain, that end grain may be traveling in different directions. So it's not all perfectly perpendicular. And in the case where you have a 45-degree grain direction, there is still going to be a small amount of shrinkage. So I think that's why these corners have recessed. But if you have any ideas, let me know down in the comments below, because I was a bit surprised to see this. Because it's all end grain, it's got such a beautiful edge because all the grain is running up instead of along. The best part of gluing on this front edge is that it's made of a very, very dense hardwood. It's very solid, very strong. And because the table is now getting glued to a perfectly flat edge, I know that this front edge of the table is perfectly flat. And that brings us up to the present day, where it's been almost exactly 1 year since I put this desk in. I apologize for how long it's taken me to publish this video. I've had a number of people asking for the updates. Here it is. I'm gonna do one more video in the series where I cover off all the bits that I didn't get to in this video. Ventilation, soundproofing, those are the main two, but I also just want to give an update on what it's been like working in this office over the past year. So if you want to catch that video, I would like to encourage you to subscribe. Thanks very much for watching. My name is Robin Lewis. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. I sometimes wonder if other woodworking YouTubers look at us finger gluing guys and think we're a bunch of Neanderthals.